Hello guys, we are here again to give you the best of what you wish to have. Thanks for coming back again if you are subscribed. If you are here to subscribe and this is your first time here in my channel, please click on the subscribe button and also on the bell beside it. That will notify you when we drop a new video. Thank you. We want to discuss the specimen of the NECO 2021 examination, which is for the biology practical. So considering the specimen we have on board, we are not just providing this. Despite the fact that we won't be able to show you the specimen physically, firstly we need to identify them. So when we identify them, then we would show you diagrams and necessary labels that you might need to excel in your examination. And at the same time, we're going to provide you simplified explanation on whatever things you need to know about your specimen so that you would be able to come out with the flying colors. Now we have listed the specimen right here so we can firstly identify them. So by pictures and labeling you would be able to identify and give your own characteristics of it when you see it physically. So we're going to give you the picture as you watch this video to the end, and diagrams, necessary labels as well. So we have the atlas vertebra, which is part of the mammalian skeleton. We have the thorax vertebra, we have the scapula, all these, the lumbar vertebra, those are part of the mammalian skeleton. Then we have the puta, so which is actually used for picking up insects. Then we have swiftnet, we have Tridax fruit, we have tadpoles, we have the Spirogira, we have the okra fruit and the mango fruit, the thick and the Binweevil, we have the cactus plant, we have water lettuce, and we have Soja Termite, the mandibulate anyway. So now all these are arranged according to the letter A, B, C, D up to P. So the first one is specimen A, while the second is B, third one is C, and so on. So let's slide to the next level so we can see how they look like, so that when you see them physically you would be able to identify them even if you have never seen them before. But actually you would be able to identify them at the end of this video. That is the reason why you have to watch the video to the end. Okay, let's go on. So let's go for the first specimen, specimen A, which is the atlas vertebra. It is located in the neck region. Then what are the characteristics? It has large neural canal, just like you can see a big O at the center in that diagram you are viewing right now. It has a flat and broad transverse process, also just like you can see there in those labels. Then it has a neural spine, which is very short or sometimes or not even available at all. Then it has a vertebrae canal for the passage of blood vessels. So that is the characteristics according to what you're seeing in the diagram. Then what will be the function? Okay, it permits nodding on the head. So it is the availability of this atlas vertebra that enables the nodding of the head rather. It enables the nodding of the head. And however, it is connected to the skull by the occipital condyle, just like you can see the labels in the diagram. So that is for the first specimen. So you can also be asked, to draw this specimen. So with the diagram, I think you should be able to identify it when you see it physically. So you can actually make a drawings of it as a practice, so to enable you come out well. So you can make a given dimension. You can be given a dimension for the measurement, or a measurement for the drawing. So you ought to make you ought to meet up with that requirement or the dimension of drawings. So I think you know how to do that. If, for instance, if you are given 8 by 10, so the 8 by 10 is going to be in form of, you're going to make 8 actually is the height, then the 10 is the width. So you get your ruler, you draw a box or a rectangle of length 8 by 8, and the breadth should be actually 10. So then when you draw such rectangle, your drawing will be made in that rectangle, and we size it or fit into that rectangle straight away. Then you rub off the line and then label. So, and don't forget, when you label, you ensure that you label on one side or on both sides with straight line and not different sides. Label on two sides or one side with straight lines. That is how to label. Okay, let's go for the second specimen, which is specimen B. and that is what you are also seeing in that picture. So it is the Thoraic vertebra. So where is it located? It is found in the chest region. So then the characteristics, it has a long and prominent neural spine, unlike the atlas, which has a short neural spine. So it has a long and prominent neural spine which projects upward and backward. So it projects upward and backward. So it also has a large cylindrical centrum. Yeah, that is also present. And we have a centrum happens to be a center and looks cylindrical or a cavity or whatever. So now we have it also have a large neural canal. Yes, neural canal, neural arc. So considering all these factors and the labels, so you should be able to get them. Then it has a pair of short transverse process. So that those are the characteristics anyway. And what would be the function? It aid attachment of the rib. It enables the attachment of the rib. So which implies that it is the one that aid the attachment of the rib. So that is the function of the thoracic vertebra. So with that, I think that's enough. That's enough for that. So for specimen C, which is the scapula or called the shoulder bone, it is scapula, and as you can see in that diagram, it's it's located at the upper thoracic region on the dorsal surface of the rib. Just that is where it is located. In characteristic, if you look at it very well, it has a flat triangular shaped bone at the other end, and which the other side is longer. You see that? So it aids shoulder joint. That is the function. It aids shoulder joint, and if you look at it, it is in such a way that it enables or supports motion in 6 different types. It supports 6 different types of motion. That is why the shoulder joint is able to twist in different directions. So that is the function of that scapula. So let's go for the specimen D, which is the lumbar vertebra. Where is it located? It is located in the upper abdominal region. Upper abdominal region, that is above the abdominal side. So they are they are of different they are of different types in man, or let me say they are divided into 5. They are of 5 in man. So that is the lumbar vertebra. What are the characteristics? It is a large flattened transverse process. I mean, it has a large flattened transverse process. So, and at the same time, it has large and thick centrum, just like we have in the Thoraic, which has a centrum also. It has 2 extra-paired projection. They call it anapophysis and metapophysis. And these 2 serve as an attachment for abdominal muscles. So that is the function of those 2 we talked about. Then what is the function of this lumbar vertebra itself? It provides attachment for abdominal muscles. That is one. Then it bears considerable weight of the body. So he said it is the one that bears the considerable weight of the body. So, and at the same time, it serves as a means of attachment for the muscles of the abdomen. For specimen E, which is the Puta, it is used for picking up very small insects, or let's say very small animals, because insects still belong to the kingdom Animalia. So, and how does it function? If you look at that diagram, you will see two tubes. One is open at both ends, which is the longer one, and there is the other end is extended to the outside, and we have the other one which is closed at one end, the end of which is inside, and the other one is outside. So you have to suck. The suction effect of air helps in taking the insect into that container. So when you suck from the other side that is closed, then it would actually drag the insect you place, or the insect that is probably available in a situation where the other tube is placed. So it suck it into the container itself. So it's actually used for the picking up of very small insect. That is the function, and that is the principle of which it's used, and that is the way it looks like. So that is that for specimen E. Then we have specimen F, which is called the sweepnet. It looks like a funnel, just like you can see in that diagram, with an handle or long. The handle is a little bit long. So, and what is that used for? It's also used for picking insect, but this time around on grasses, and it is used in the agricultural aspect, the farming aspect, to pick up pests and actually take them for analysis or whatever, or studio photography and all that. So that is what the sweep net is used for. Then for specimen G, we have the Tridax fruit. The botanical name for that fruit is called the Tridax procumbens. That is the botanical name. It is also a flowering plant, and you can see the labels of every other site it has. Then if you look at, let's look at the feature, or the characteristic, the physical properties. You see it has a yellow centered flower. So it bears a, let's call it daisy-like yellow centered flower. So, and it has a 3-toothed ray, or they call it floret. They call it floret. So, and that is Tridax fruits. We're going to talk about the properties here alone, and it serves some, it has some purpose like medicinal use and so on. So that is for traditional medicinal use. That it is used as an antioxidant, and at the same time it can be used as an antidote. So let me just say that in some traditional usage. For the specimen H, which is tadpole. Now look at that diagram very well. It looks like something you have seen before. Wow, it's not a fish. It is called tadpole, because majority of us, even right from when we were growing up, we call this fish. I could remember then we call it fish, but now we know that it is tadpole, and that is a stage. Let's call it the larva stage of frog or toad. So that is the tadpole. So they are tiny round creature with long tail and gills for breathing in water. They reside in water, and moreover, they are what's it called? Filter feeders. They feed on small organism, very very tiny organism in the water body, just like the planktons. They feed on them. They are filter feeders, so they actually open the mouth, or let me call it the mouth parts, where the feeding process takes place, and as the water current passes, they sieve their food and take it in directly. So that is why they are called filter feeders. So it is the larval stage of so they have the larva stage of frog, toads, and okay, we have a salamander also. That those are the larva stage of those amphibians we are talking about is called the tadpole rather. So let's pick it there. Let's pick it that way. Now we go for specimen I, which is Spirogira, and the scientific name is called the Spirogira spp. And actually, there is a lot to talk about in this Spirogyra, but we're going to cut it short. So we have Spirogyra is an algae, as you can see. Have you ever seen such before? Okay, look through your window out there, you're going to see one. So it has a green pigment, just like flowering plants. It's a microorganism. It is not okay. Don't let me call it a microorganism. The cell exists as filament, so it's a filamentous cell, and it also undergoes photosynthesis just like plants undergoes. But the mode of growing, or let's say the mode of reproduction, we have the mode of growth is filamentous in nature. So they grow by in filaments. So their cell exists in filaments. So they also exhibit a form of asexual reproduction. And we have also the sexual reproduction process, or the sexual process. So these processes are called the conjugation. So, and the type of conjugation we have in Spirogyra is called scalariform, or ladder-like conjugation. They call it ladder-like conjugation. They form ladder-like in the scalariform conjugation, and that is a form of a sexual process in Spirogyra. And at the same time, we can also talk about their property when touched. They feel slippery, and this is because of the presence of a substance called pectin in their cellulose or in their body cells or whatever. So now the importance is a natural source of some bioactive substances, and then some of the substance we use them for antioxidants, antibiotics, and all that. So it has also the importance of its own, and that is all about Spirogyra. So now let's move to the next specimen, which is specimen J, and that is Okra Fruit. What is the botanical name of Okra Fruit? It is called Abelmoscus esculentus. So that is the name. Let me call it once again, Abelmoscus esculentus. So that is the botanical name. So it belongs to the hibiscus family, and herbaceous airy annual plants. If you look at the structure very well, in real life we should be familiar with this. It used to have a air-like body. The outer body is airy in nature. So then it's rich in vitamin A and C. So if you might be asked what kind of vitamin is gotten from that fruit, it is vitamin A and C, and majorly we use them as vegetable for foods. So then as well, it contains an antioxidant. So it is a kind of dry fruit. It is a type of dry fruit. It is a capsule type of dry fruit. It is a capsule type of dry fruit. Then when you break it, it breaks into many sides or divide into carpels. They call it carpels. So when you split it, it splits into different sides, and they call that the carpels. And we also have the mango, which is specimen K. Just consider the diagram you're seeing, learn how to try to practice them in terms of drawing. You might not be asked to draw everything, but just ensure that you are able to pick one or two and try to draw them. So we have the mango, and the botanical name is called the Magnifera indica. So I would advise that whenever you write your botanical name, the first name, which is the genus name, should start with capital letter, while the rest should be in small letter, and you underline. The species name should also be in small letter while you underline. So it has a outside covering called the epicap, and we have a middle layer called the mesocap, and the inner layer is called the endocap. So the endocap is the one that houses the seed of the mango. So it's a kind of fruit, and I've said earlier that the name is Magnifera indica. So let's move to specimen L, which is teak. So we are familiar with teak. Teak, they can be found on the bodies of dogs, cow, and some other animals like that. So they are ectoparasites, and you know what a parasite means. So they feed and live in the host. So but these one are outside the host. So those that live in the host, they are called endoparasites, but teak is an example of an ectoparasite. It belongs to the order of Ixodida, then the class is Arachinda. But the kingdom Animalia, that is the kingdom of teak, because we have a phylum which is Arthropoda. So those are the information based on the origin of teak. Then it has we have two types of it anyway. We have the hard and the soft teak. Have you ever noticed when you try to pick up one from a cow or a dog and it feels very, very hard to remove? So that is giving you example of an hard teak. And what are the difference between these two type of teak? One has a substance, or let me say a material called capitulum, and it has it in the abdomen. Why the other has it in the anterior end? In the anterior end. Now, so the hard one has its capitulum at the anterior end, while the soft one has it in the abdomen. And what type of skeleton do they have? They make use of exoskeleton. So their skeleton is outside their body, and the material they use, they are made up. Their skeleton is made up of their examples are chitin and all that. So That is what they use. And when they grow by the process called molting. So that is, they shed off their exoskeleton, grows a little bit bigger, then reproduce another exoskeleton. So that is the process called molting. So their metamorphosis is incomplete. So let me just take it this way. Let me discuss briefly about their metamorphosis. The male tick, actually, when they get to their parasite, they find the female so that they can mate or reproduce, rather. Let's use the word reproduce. So when they reproduce, when they actually reproduce, the male die off immediately. Then the female, once it has fed enough and gotten to a stage, is going to drop down from the parasite, then give birth, or let's say produce the young ones and then die off. So the young ones begin to find an animal, or let's say the host, to attach itself to the body, and the process continues again. Then we have the Binweevil, which is specimen M, the Binweevil. So they are also called seed beetle. They are also called the sea beetles. So they belong to the order of Coleoptera, and then the family of Chrysomelidae. Then we have the damages they cause, their effects. They are pests, so they pest on bean plants. They cause a lot of loss to the plant, and they actually destroy the crop, the bean crops everywhere. So now we have the name for the bean weevil. The scientific name is called Leptoglossus occidentalis. So that is the name for the bean weevil, the scientific name. I think I've told you how to write that and underline. Then another thing I want to share with you about the specimen M is the method of control. How can you control the effect of bean weevil? The number one is you discard the infected foods in outdoor trash. So you have to discard the bean that has already been affected, so it won't infect the others. Then freeze suspected food, right, at 0 degree for 6 days. So it's more or less like you have to freeze it, keep it in a refrigerator and allow it to freeze. So that will prevent the growth of the bean weevil. Then you clean the area where infested food are stored. Clean that area very well to avoid being left with some other weevils that are yet to be disposed or discarded. Now let's move to specimen N, which is cactus plants. Cactus plants are always found in arid land. Arid land means desert, a place that lacks water. So what are their characteristics? They have, just like the diagram you're seeing there, so they have flowers with ovaries that lie below the sepals and petals. They are disc-like in shape. That means they're talking about the flower, they are disc-like in shape. Then they survive. How do they survive in desert? They have a succulent stem for storage of water. So majorly we are discussing here the characteristics and the reason, the way they survive, the adaptive features in the arid land. So they have a succulent stem for storing of water, and also they have a thick bark to prevent water loss by transpiration. So let's go for specimen O. Specimen O is water lettuce. It is located in the aquatic habitats. You normally see them. Look at that diagram. If you have seen such before, you've been to the aquatic riverbed before, you should have seen something of that nature. They float on water, though their roots, they are under the water, they are beneath the water, but not attached to any soil. So they float on water. So they have the characteristic features that enables them to adapt in the aquatic habitat. So they do not have stem, just like you have seen. So the leaves are gathered in a rosette. When you say the rosette, you see they are centralized in the point. So that is the meaning of a rosette. They are illegal plants. Why do they call them illegal plants? So that might be a reasonable question. Why are they called illegal plants? They are called illegal plants because, you see, they cover the surface of the water. So when they cover the surface of the water, they perform their photosynthesis using the sunlight and all that. So The reason why they are called illegal plants is because they tend to reduce the oxygen level in the water body, because the oxygen are meant to dissolve from the water surface, then it gets down to the depth. But having these plants there, they prevent oxygen getting to the depth of the water, and that is reducing the oxygen level of the water, of the aquatic habitat, of such an habitat. So that is why they are called illegal plants. So, and the name for that water lettuce, that is the scientific name, is called the Pistia stratiotes. Pistia stratiotes. That is the name. Then let's go for the last specimen, the specimen P, which is Soja Termite. Soja Termite belong to the family, or sorry, the kingdom Animalia. Then the phylum is Arthropoda. We have the class is Insecta. Then we have the order, we call it Blatodia. Blatodia is the order. So Soja termites are known to defend their nests. You understand? We have the queen termite and all that, but the Soja termite, they have strong mandible for chewing. So they probably feed on dead plant and materials and cellulose materials, let me say that. So, and most especially those cellulose materials are in wood, so they feed on cellulose materials in wood and dead plants. So they have a strong mandible for biting and chewing their food. So they undergo incomplete metamorphosis that proceed through the egg, nymph, adult, and adult stage rather. So they undergo incomplete metamorphosis. So the incomplete metamorphosis was preceded by the, we don't have the larva, we don't have the pupa, so that is an example of incomplete metamorphosis. So that is we don't have larva, we don't have pupa and all that. So those, including those ones, now we have a complete metamorphosis. But here we have just the egg, the nymph, and the adult, just 3 stages in their metamorphosis. That is incomplete metamorphosis. So that is that for the last specimen. You can actually try to make your drawings. As you can see, the diagram are there with your labels. So let me give you additional information that the labels carries half mark, so, and the drawings few marks. So you have to label very well, because each label carries half mark. And if label, you can label as much as you can if you can identify the parts of the diagram you want to label, you want to draw rather. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free. Thank you.